One sec, YouTube stream. This is gonna go down because I'm adjusting the settings. One sec.
Hey everybody, so my name is Kyle Christensen, I'm from Iowa Falls, and I'm the second person in this country to get Andrew's freedom dividend. I didn't nominate myself, I nominated my mom because she had cancer. So thankful for that. But in August 2016, Mom was
One sec,
diagnosed
stream. We're
with
trying to fix the
multiple
FPS.
and I knew immediately that I was going to make her a bad visit. Every surgery, ambulance ride, and I even had to call 911 on her once when I found her unresponsive. She will need a kidney transplant, and I'll be evaluated to see if I'm a match to just get her better instead of the 7-year waiting list. Before she had her stem cell transplant to take care of this cancer, we had a long 12-hour day of tests. The last test of the day was an MRI. It was also Mom's birthday. While waiting for that MRI, Mom got a call and she was fired from her job. I thought, what the hell are we going to do? This is how people lose everything. We didn't even know if she had insurance at that point, and as Mom's needs increased, I was working less to take care of her more. The house payment was a couple months behind already, and bills were coming in the mail every single day. I began selling personal items to make ends meet for both of us. While I can say Mom had cancer, the financial battles are not as easy to defeat. Mom was not prepared for this, as most Americans are not. Too many of us are overworked, undercompensated, underinsured, underappreciated by the companies we work for, and undervalued by our own government. And we don't have the time or the money to prepare for any emergency. Mom only had the minimum Social Security income. Her money would come in and go out, often on the same day, leaving her in the red. Now she no longer worries about that house payment, and the weight is off her shoulders. The last thing a person with a history of cancer needs is stress, anxiety, or depression. And when you work so hard and only get further behind, you begin to lose hope. I look forward to the day where everyone gets this freedom dividend, and I see the opportunities and the hope that would create for everyone. This could be anyone's story. Take our names out
One sec, stream.
and our problems
Switch
out and
phones.
substitute your own. There's a song in this country, bold and brave vision to this country will make us all more free from stress, anxiety, and depression brought on by financial insecurities and unequal opportunities. Thank you, Andrew. Let's make my reality and my mom's reality everyone's reality. Thank you. And now I'm going to introduce the new U.S. Navy vet, Heidi Day.
Thank you, Kyle, and welcome, Grinnell. Thank you guys for coming out. We really appreciate you guys who have cool titles like that in the campaign. My story is kind of a funny one. I like to tell people that I became a gang supporter by a mistargeted ad because I live in South Dakota. And in my Facebook feed, I saw one day an ad for Andrew Yang. And clearly he was trying to hit Iowa, but close enough. And before that, I was a Bernie Sanders supporter from 2016 to May of this year. And then I saw this ad, and I spent the next 2 days just learning all I could about Andrew Yang. And then I did what any rational person would do, and I got these giant Yang 2020 vinyl decals. I put them on my Jeep, and I headed to Iowa. Because that's how important it was to me to tell Iowans about Andrew Yang. Because this is the most important election of our lifetime. And not just because Donald Trump is up for re-election, but because literally ending poverty, ending abject poverty in this country is on the ballot. With an Andrew Yang platform, we end abject poverty. And today, on the day that we celebrate the life of Martin Luther King Jr., it's vitally important. So before I hand over the microphone to the next person, I'd like to say if anyone is interested in volunteering, knocking on doors is how we get Andrew's message out. And a door knock is worth $240 in donations. So if you are interested in volunteering, I'm going to have our staff raise their hands. You can find these guys and they will set you up volunteering if you're interested. And now I would like to introduce, he's a local chef and he's running for the Iowa State House in District 76 as an independent, Kamal Hamuda.
Good evening all. As you know, my name is Kamal Hamuda. Some of you know me as Chef Kamal. Others know me as the guy who prepares strange food. Right? As Heidi said, I'm running for the Iowa State House to represent you as an independent candidate. I support people I believe in because I support principles, ideas that individuals espouse. I don't support a party because I can't walk in lockstep with one right now. Here in Iowa, we are blessed and cursed with the first in the nation caucus. So every 4 years, we get the national press trading after presidential candidates and their surrogates to predict who would gain our favor and get propelled to New Hampshire as the anointed frontrunner. This evening, I thought at first I was going to introduce the next president of the United States. And I thought, great, I get to introduce an emperor's son, just like one of my boys. But then I was given the honor and the pleasure to introduce the next First Lady, also known as the heart of the team, Miss Evelyn Yang. A former marketing professional who chose the least appreciated and the most important job of this world, motherhood. When she encountered health issues with her son, she didn't just deal with them, she took it further by championing for others who are not as well off. She's running her own marathon to help our future, our children in need. I don't think you came here tonight to hear me. So, let me introduce you and give an Iowa welcome to the next First Lady of the United States of America.
we have 2 little boys at home who keep me pretty busy. But I love being out here when I can because I think I'm very useful to Andrew. After 15 years of being together, I like to think that I'm his best character witness. Andrew is a wonderful husband, father, and friend. He's a man of the highest integrity. He doesn't lie. I've never known him to do a single unscrupulous thing. But he's far from a stick in the mud. He is so much fun, and he's flexible, but he's principled. And he has exceptional judgment when it comes to filtering out the things that are really important. He is generous in heart and soul and action. By the way, I took all of that from our wedding vows. I'm just kidding. Actually, our wedding vows are way more generic. But seriously, Andrew is the only one talking about tackling the greatest issues we face today in a meaningful way. Of course, $1,000 a month can't solve all of our problems. We as a country have a lot of big systemic changes to work on. And if you look into any of Andrew's 150 plus policy proposals, then you know that he fully intends to do that work. But the freedom dividend is a critical first step in the right direction. It will mean that millions of Americans can lift their heads up, look forward, plan, save for a rainy day, and hope for a brighter future. That's why I so embrace my husband's work putting humanity first. What humanity first means to me is investing in people first. This will supercharge our families, supercharge our communities. As Andrew puts it, it's a trickle-up economy from our people and our families up. Andrew's the only one talking about tackling issues in a people-centered way. It's why the more you hear from him, the more you want to hear from him. He makes too much sense. And you realize that this is what we've been missing in politics. Now the man that you've been waiting for, my husband, the next President of the United States, Andrew Yang.
Tremendously back here in town. Occasionally people thank me for running for president, and I say thank my wife, because she let me run, and she's been sacrificing more than anyone else in our family. Thank you so much, Evelyn. I love you. So Evelyn can attest to the fact that I never thought I would be running for president. If that had come up during our early dating life, she would have run the other direction. I'm the child of immigrants, and in the Yang household, no one was saying, you're going to run for president someday. Instead, it was get good grades, try and get a good job, so that's what I did. I was an attorney for 5 unhappy months, and then I left to start a business. How many of you all have started a company or club or organization on mailing list? Raise your hand. So if you have your hand up, you know a couple things. Number one, it's much harder than anyone ever lets on. And number two, when someone asks you how it's going, what do you say? Great. My business too went great until it failed. My parents told people I was still a lawyer. But I've been bitten by the bug. I worked at another company, and then another, and then I became the CEO of an education company that grew to become #1 in the United States and was bought by a big public company in 2009. Now, 2009 was a really rough time in much of the country with a financial crisis. How many of you were here in Iowa 11 years ago? And how was that time for you in your community? Terrible, I heard?
Rough.
Rough. There was a 14-year-old boy at another event, and he said it was really hard. And I looked at him, I said, you must have been 3 or 4 years old. How do you remember this? And then he said, well, my family had to sell our house, so I remember. It was a rough time in a lot of the country, and I thought I had some insight as to why our economy crashed 12 years ago. It was because so many of the wannabe whiz kids I'd gone to college and law school with had gone straight to Wall Street and dreamt up mortgage-backed securities and financial derivatives that had tanked the economy. And I thought, well, that's a disaster. That's the opposite of what you want. So here's where Evelyn enters the picture again. I quit my job to start a nonprofit. How many of you all work at nonprofits now? That includes schools, obviously. How many of you volunteer at a nonprofit? You should probably just raise your hand to that second one. That's like, are you a good person? And then you were like, I was good that one time. So how do you start a nonprofit? We donated some of our savings to a 501c3 that we formed, and then I started calling rich friends, asking them for money. That's how we started a nonprofit. And our nonprofit grew and grew. I ran it for 7 years, and we helped create several thousand jobs around the country in cities like Cleveland, St. Louis, New Orleans, Baltimore. It was so successful that I was honored by the Obama administration, so I got to bring Evelyn to meet the president. My in-laws were really excited about me that week. Well, she did all right, check it out. But unfortunately, I had this sinking feeling while I was traveling the country because I was staggered by the gulf between regions, where if you flew between Michigan and Manhattan, or St. Louis and San Francisco, you felt like you were crossing dimensions or decades or ways of life, and not just a few time zones. I sense that some of you might know what I'm talking about. But I was still surprised when Donald Trump became our president in 2016. I know you remember the night well. How did you all react when Trump won?
Right.
Tears, shock, someone said bourbon. To me and Evelyn, this was a giant red flag that tens of millions of our fellow Americans decided to take a bet on the narcissist reality TV star as our president. And though we might have been shocked or saddened, we all have family members or friends or neighbors who are excited by his victory. And if you live here in Iowa, I know you have friends who are excited because he won Iowa by almost 10 points. And to me, that's one of the core questions that Democrats need to answer. How the heck did Donald Trump win Iowa, essentially the purplest state you can find, by almost 10 points? If you turn on cable news any time between 2016 and now, why would you think that Trump won? What are the explanations that have been offered to us by the journalists and the media companies? Russia. Emails. DNC. Washington doesn't work. Racism. Facebook. Hillary Clinton. FBI. Immigrants. Fear. All mixed together, right? This is like the cocktail of explanations that we've been given as to why Trump won. But I'm a numbers guy, Grinnell, and I went looking through the numbers for an explanation, and I found one. I found it. The reason why Trump won is that we blasted away 4 million manufacturing jobs over the last number of years. And where were those jobs based?
Overseas.
Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Missouri, and 40,000 right here in Iowa. That's how Iowa goes red by almost 10 points. I have been to those towns in Iowa that lost their manufacturing jobs, and after the manufacturing plant closed, the shopping district closed, people left, the school shrank, and that community has never recovered. And in those districts, purple or blue went to red in a very, very big way. I saw the same thing play out in communities in Missouri, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, where if you eliminate these manufacturing jobs, that town does not recover. And what we did to those manufacturing jobs, we are now doing to jobs in other parts of the economy. How many of you have noticed stores closing around where you work and live here in Iowa? And why are those stores closing? Amazon, that's right. Amazon sucking up $20 billion in business every year, causing 30% of our stores and malls to close. Most common job in the economy is retail clerk. The average retail clerk is a 39-year-old woman making between $8 and $12 an hour. When her store closes, what is her next job?
Walmart.
Walmart if they're hiring. Amazon, that's right. You maybe go to the fulfillment center. How much did Amazon pay in federal taxes last year?
0.
So that is the math, Grinnell. 20 billion out, 30% of your stores closed, you get 0 back. It's not just the changes you can see at the McDonald's and the grocery store. When you all call the customer service line of a big company and you get the bot or software on the other end, you do the same thing I do, I'm sure, which is you dial 000, say human, representative, human, representative, over and over again until someone gets on the line. Raise your hand if that's what you do. Oh yeah, we all do that. Because that software is miserable. You're like, please let this company still employ a human. If they do, I'm going to find that human. But in 2 or 3 short years, the software is going to sound like this. Hey Andrew, how's it going? What can I do for you? The software is going to be fast, seamless, efficient. What is that going to mean for the 2.5 million Americans who work at call centers right now making $10 to $14 an hour? I spoke to a group of 70 CEOs in New York City, big companies, and I asked them, how many of you are looking at replacing your back office clerical workers with software or AI? Guess how many hands went up out of 7? All of them. The fact is you could fire any CEO who didn't have their hand up, because their job is based upon whether they can maximize the bottom line of their company. And so if a technology company comes and says, hey, I can get rid of your back office clerical workers and replace them with this software license, if the CEO does not take that deal, they get fired the next quarter. That is the system we have built. How many of you all know a truck driver here in Iowa? My friends in California are working on trucks that can drive themselves. They say they're 98% of the way there. 3 weeks ago, a robot truck just transported 20 tons of butter from California to Pennsylvania with no human intervention. Why did they choose butter for this maiden voyage? I have no idea. But if you Google robot butter truck, it comes up. What will this mean for the 3.5 million Americans who drive a truck for a living, or the 7 million Americans who work at truck stops, motels, and diners that rely upon the truckers getting out and having a meal every day? How many of you all have been to Iowa 80 in Davenport? Yeah, they've got a mean buffet. Iowa 80 proudly says that 5,000 people stop there every day. How many people will stop there when the trucks no longer have drivers? We're in the midst of the greatest economic transformation in the history of our country, what experts are calling the 4th Industrial Revolution. When's the last time you heard a politician say the words 4th Industrial Revolution? Probably just now. And I'm barely a politician. So this is what I was figuring out in 2017. Trump wins. I look up and say, oh my gosh, here I am, the guy who's getting accolades and awards for helping create thousands of jobs. And I've had this feeling that my work is like pouring water into a bathtub that has a giant hole ripped in the bottom. That water rushing out gets Trump into the Oval Office. We are scapegoating immigrants for problems immigrants have nothing to do with. Our country does not understand what's happening. So I go to our leaders in Washington, D.C., and I say, hey, what are we going to do to help our people manage this transition of this economic and technological transformation? And what do you think the folks in D.C. said to me when I said, what are we going to do to help our people? So she just made like that noise. The 3 big answers I got out of D.C. were, number 1, we cannot talk about this. Number 2, we should study this further. And number 3, and you've heard this one, we must educate and retrain all Americans for the jobs of the future. How many of you have heard something like that? That sounds halfway responsible. You're like, okay. But you all want to guess how effective the government-funded retraining programs were for the manufacturing workers who lost their jobs in the Midwest? I'm anchoring you very low, so you know it's very low. But you also know it's low because you know people. You know if you have 1,000 manufacturing workers who lose their jobs, they don't all walk out in the line of being like, I'm here for my coding school now. Give me 3 months of coding boot camp and I'll be in the laptop in no time. I mean, that's not human nature, that's not reality. The success rates of those government-funded retraining programs were 0 to 15%. They were a total dud. Almost half of the manufacturing workers who lost their jobs in the Midwest never worked again. Of that group, half filed for disability. You then saw surges in suicides and drug overdoses in those communities to the point that our life expectancy has now declined for the last 3 years in a row as a country. You know the last time that happened in the United States of America? Great Depression is a great guess. You have to go a little bit further back. It's the Spanish flu of 1918, a global pandemic that killed millions. That's the last time America's life expectancy declined for 3 years in a row. It is highly unusual for your life expectancy to decline in a developed country. It ordinarily just goes up because you're getting richer, stronger, healthier. But not in the US, it's gone down and then down and then down again. So when I said this to the folks in DC, one of them said, well, I guess we'll get better at the retraining then. And another said something that brought me here to you all tonight. He said, Andrew, you're in the wrong town. Because this town will do nothing about any of the problems you're describing. This town fundamentally is a town of followers, not leaders. And the only way we would do anything about this is if you were to create a wave in other parts of the country and bring that wave crashing down on our heads. And I said, challenge accepted. I'll be back in 2 years. So that was 2 years ago, and now I stand before you, fifth in the polls and rising to be the Democratic nominee. We raised $16.5 million last quarter in increments of only $35 each. So my fans are almost as cheap as Bernie's. But this is pure grassroots campaigning, no corporate PAC money. I joke, the companies would never send the anonymous Asian man. The ones that could be like, oh, this will work. This is an uprising of the people trying to retake our government. Because our government does not serve us anymore. Our government serves what? The almighty dollar. The lobbyists, the corporate interests that have had their run of the place for a long time now. I love campaigning here in Iowa because you all are among the most powerful people in our country today. I know it does not feel like it. You're just living your life, nothing good on TV, so you thought you'd check out the presidential candidate. You're like, I'm going to caucus pretty soon. I might have to do this. But I did the math. Do you know how many Californians each of you is worth?
A lot. It is not
1,000 Californians each. So if you look around this bar tonight, what's the fire code in this establishment? I'm going to give a Trumpian estimate. There are 1,000 people. Legitimately, I think it's like 150 people. I hope that's not above the fire code. But 150 Iowans would be the equivalent of 4 football stadiums full of Californians. That's how much power you all have. You have the power to do something that the rest of the country only dreams about. The rest of the country looks up and they see our government as a series of pipes that are clogged full of lobbyist cash, and they say there's nothing they can do about it. They're right. There's nothing they can do about it. You're the only people in the country who can flush the pipes clean. That's the magic of this place. That's why I love coming here, because this is just about the only place in the country where democracy still functions as it's intended. This is the only place in the country where people can actually overpower the money and rewrite the rules of the economy to work for us. It's magic. So the question is, how are you going to use that power in just 15 short days? What is the vision you want to present to the rest of the country? If you're here tonight, at some point you heard there's a man running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. And I know the first time you heard that, it seemed like it was a gimmick, it was too good to be true, it will never happen. I'm sure hearing Kyle Christensen's story tonight made you think, wow, like this actually would be a game changer for many, many Americans. And this is not a new idea, it's not my idea, it's a deeply American idea from our founding. Thomas Paine was for it, called it the citizen's dividend for all Americans. Martin Luther King, whose birthday we celebrate today, fought for this. Fought for this vision in the 1960s, called it the guaranteed minimum income for all Americans. It is what he was fighting for when he was assassinated in 1968. And I know this is what he was fighting for because I had the privilege of sitting with his son, Martin Luther King III, who said this is what Dad was fighting for. And I have to say, when you sit with someone who actually calls Martin Luther King Dad, you're like, you just call him Dad? And then you're like, well, your name's Martin Luther King III, so this was mainstream political wisdom in the 60s. 1,000 economists, including Milton Friedman, endorsed it and said it would be tremendous for the economy. Passed the House of Representatives twice under Richard Nixon in '71, the family assistance plan with a guaranteed an income floor for all American families. And then 11 years later, one state passed a dividend, where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that? Alaska. And how does Alaska pay for it?
Oil.
And what is the oil of the 21st century? Data, technology, AI, self-driving cars and trucks. A study came out that said that our data is now worth more than oil. How many of you saw that study? How many of you got your data check in the mail last month? If our data is now worth billions and billions of dollars a year, who's getting all that money? Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and the trillion-dollar tech companies that are paying zero or near zero in taxes. You see the game, Iowa? You feel like you're getting depleted progressively, that somehow value is leaving our communities and going up to the cloud? You feel that way because it is that way. They're paying next to nothing back into our economy, going all the way to Seattle, or I guess they just bought an HQ in DC. And I'm going to ask you all, whose fault is it that Amazon pays zero in taxes? Is it their fault? No. Whose fault is it?
Government.
It's our government's fault. You have to be pretty behind the curve to look up and say, yeah, $1 trillion tech company pays zero, less than everyone here in this room. Yeah, that seems right. That is what you all have to change. You didn't know that, but that's why we're here today. It is your job to get our tiny fair share of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad, every robot truck mile, every AI work unit, and put it back into your hands in your communities. Because after this $1,000 a month is in your hands, how will you spend it in real life? Where does the money actually go? How much of it would stay right here in Iowa?
All of it.
Not all of it. You might get your own Netflix password. A little bit of it will float away. But most of it will stay right here in your community. It will go to delicious food, like they sell right here, and drinks, I guess in the bar, right? Yeah. Car repairs you've been putting off, daycare expenses, Little League signups, local nonprofits, school tuition payments, and textbooks. How do they gouge you so bad on textbooks? Man, is that a racket. As your president, I will break the textbook. No, really, I mean, that's like the most corrupt load of bullshit. In the same textbook, year after year, somehow they make you buy a new one. They change like one line and be like, it's new, 18th edition, pay up. Hey, what was that? The name on the textbook looks familiar. It's your professor's name? What a coincidence. No. Oh, really? I mean, things haven't changed that much. Like, it was the same way when I was in school. I was like, what? What's going on? And then you kind of get through the racket, and then you leave, and then the racket is still there, years later, just chewing up more families' budgets. So this $1,000, as Evelyn said, it's the trickle-up economy, from our people, our families, and our communities up. Make us stronger, healthier, mentally healthier, actually help us adjust through this historic transition we're in the midst of. We're getting all these messages about how great things are. If you turn on the news, what does it say? Record high GDP, record high corporate profits, record low unemployment. And yet you have this sinking feeling that things are not great. And if you're a student in particular, you feel like your generation's been left like an incredibly large, multi-trillion-dollar bill in the form of climate change, yes, but the fact that college has gotten 2.5 times more expensive, even though it has not gotten 2.5 times better. The fact that when you graduate from college, there's a 40 to 44% chance you're going to do a job that does not require a college degree. Does the school come back and give you a refund if that happens? No. The fact there's a 41% chance you don't finish school within 6 years. Does the school give you a refund if that happens? No. The school just runs around and says, we can do no wrong because we have this legal status that says we are a nonprofit, even though at this point we're like a hidden tax on many, many families. So the measurements are going up. If you have corporate profits going up and life expectancy going down, which do you listen to?
Life expectancy?
You know which one DC is listening to. DC can't even see life expectancy anymore. DC's just following the money. Washington, D.C. today is the richest city in our country. Think about that. What do they produce? No one knows. And yet business is very, very good. Donald Trump made this case he wanted to drain the swamp. It got a lot of support here in Iowa and around the country because people sense that there's something going wrong. I want to do something a little bit different. I hope you like it. I want to distribute the swamp. Why do we employ hundreds of thousands of employees in the most expensive city in the country? Why wouldn't you move some of those jobs to Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Iowa? You would save billions of dollars, and I would argue that the regulators would make better decisions because they live someplace normal instead of all living in the DC bubble talking to each other. I'm for term limits for members of Congress. I think we should and I think you'll enjoy this. I can get this passed like magic. Check this out. I show up, I'm your president a year from now. Thank you, Iowa. and then I go to Congress and I'm like, hey guys, we should really have term limits here in Congress so that people don't come here and just squat here for the money forever. They should try and come here, do work on behalf of the American people, and then go home. So here's how you pass it. 12-year term limits for all members of Congress, but current lawmakers are exempt. Do you think they would pass that? Yeah. Oh yeah, they'd pass that the next day. They'd be like, we do this for the American people. Because then they'd be running around being like, I got grandfathered in. But eventually, they're gonna lose or age out or get sent home, and then you have a legislature that all of a sudden is much more dynamic and responsive. You have record high corporate profits right now in this country. You know what else are record highs? That some of you young people know. Student loan debt, financial insecurity, stress, mental illness, depression, substance abuse, drug overdoses, suicides, all at record highs in the United States of America right now. What was that, homelessness? Homelessness? I have to check the numbers, but I think you're right. You know what our record low is right now? You know what a record low is in the United States of America? Business formation among young people, marriage, having a kid, all of these fundamental acts of optimism that we associate with a good, flourishing society, record lows. But hey, corporate profits are up. What we have is a fundamental measurement problem in our country. We made up GDP almost 100 years ago, during the Great Depression. And even the inventor at that time said this is a terrible measurement for national well-being, and we should never use it as that. Think about that. And here we are 100 years later, blowing it off a cliff. Does that make sense? Robot trucks will be great for GDP and corporate profits. They're going to be bad for many, many Americans. So instead of measuring GDP and corporate profits as some kind of rough proxy for how we're doing, I think we should measure our progress by how we're doing. So instead of GDP, we should be using health and life expectancy, mental health and freedom from substance abuse, childhood success rates, clean air and clean water, environmental sustainability, income and affordability, student loan indebtedness. These are the measurements of the health of our country, and as your president, I will modernize GDP to these new measures and then report them to you every year at the State of the Union. I will be the first president to use a PowerPoint deck at the State of the Union every year. It's very, very hard to solve problems if you don't realize you have them. If you're going around saying things are great, and then there's all these social indicators falling off a cliff, like that, like you're going to end up in a very, very tough spot. And we can feel that's where we're heading right now. How many of y'all are parents like me and Evelyn? If you're a parent, at some point in the past years, you've had this sinking feeling that we're leaving our kids a future that is less stable, less secure, less prosperous than the lives that we have led as their parents. I know you felt this way because, unfortunately, that's what the numbers say we are leaving our kids. If you were born in the 1940s in the United States of America, there was a 93% chance you were going to do better than your parents. That's the American dream. That's what brought my family here, Evelyn's family here. That's the dream so many of us have aspired to. If you're born in the 1990s, which I sense is many of you, you're down to a 50-50 shot that's declining fast. That's why the parents feel the way they do. That's why the young people feel the way you do. We have left you a disaster. And worse yet, we have blamed you for it. We said it must be something you did. Again, I'm the numbers guy. We've left you a disaster by the numbers. We have to invest in our kids in a real way, in your futures. And that's not just fighting climate change, which is mission critical, but it's also actually investing real resources in your future. I've run organizations for decades, and there are a few things you can do with your people. Number one is you do nothing, and then they leave you within a year. Number two, you tell them how great they are. That lasts for about a year, and then they leave you between years 1 and 2. And the third thing you can do is you actually compensate them, give them raises, give them promotions, give them a path forward, and then they'll stay with you possibly for years, possibly forever. What are we doing right now for our kids? Some combination of 1 and 2. Some combination of nothing and telling them how great it is. We tell young people that, hey, great news, you're a citizen, you can vote. And here in Iowa, that's actually a very, very powerful thing. But most young people look up and say, I can vote. Like, that doesn't seem like that significant a right of citizenship. Now imagine this, and you're gonna make this real on February 3rd. All the parents here, actually if you're a young person, this is gonna hit you immediately. We can look our kids in the eyes and say, hey, great news. Your country loves you, your country values you, and your country will invest in your future. When you are a senior in high school, you turn age 18, you will get $1,000 a month for the rest of your life. We will give you a financial literacy program so you can get a running start as to what you're gonna do with this money. And then just for fun, your senior spring in high school, we're gonna send you to another part of the country for 4 to 6 weeks so you can just see how other Americans live and work. And we know you don't learn anything senior spring anyway, so you might as well get something out of this. This is a transformation of the conception of citizenship. Because our young people know that we're shafting you. You probably have figured this out at some point. So the way we have to unshaft you is to actually invest in your future. Say we're going to put some of our $21 trillion in annual economic value to work directly in your hands. Not sell you a bill of goods and say go to college even though we've made it crazy expensive. And we're going to load you up with life-changing debt and just tell you it's going to work out. You're going to go to college. Unfortunately, even the people who are in college now feel like the deck is stacked against them. Do you know what percentage of Americans actually go to college and graduate? It's 33%, to give you a sense. So we talk about the problems of college students. They are getting more and more significant all the time. The deck is getting stacked against you. But we have to think about the 2/3 of Americans that are not going to go to college too. That's one of the reasons why I think Democrats who talk about free college as one of the primary solutions are actually missing a really big proportion of the problems that are going on in our society. Evelyn and I talk about how this idea of everyone having an investment as a right of citizenship was mainstream in the 60s. What happened between the 60s and now, where now it takes the magical, futuristic Asian man to drag this back into the mainstream? Like, what the heck happened in the United States of America over the last 50 years? And so Evelyn and I talked about it, and what happened over the last 50 years is that we were collectively convinced that economic value and human value are the same things. That whatever the market says you're worth, that's what you're worth. If the market says you're worth nothing, you are now worth nothing. That is how we wind up with otherwise responsible people suggesting we should turn thousands of coal miners into coders. And if you think about it, that makes 0 sense. Why would you ever think that you could turn thousands of coal miners into coders unless you were so programmed to think that if the market says you're valueless, then you're worth nothing, and so we will move heaven and earth and pretend we can turn you into something that the market likes. Evelyn and I have an autistic boy. What is the market going to value him at? I know how flawed our economic measurements are because Evelyn's at home as a stay-at-home parent every single day. What does her work count at in our economic measurements? That gets a 0. Every stay-at-home parent, 0. How about caregivers taking care of ailing loved ones like Kyle? How much does that get? That's a 0. How about activists and volunteers trying to make their community a better place? That's a 0 too. How about coaches and mentors who are investing in the next generation? Also 0. 98% of artists, 0. Increasingly local journalism. We put almost 2,000 local newspapers out of business in the last number of months. You know what doesn't work as well if you don't have local news?
Democracy.
Democracy, that's right. How are you going to vote on what's going on in your community if there's no source of news telling you what's going on in your community? Grinnell, these are the things that we claim to value most in our lives: our families, our communities, our democracy, and we're allowing them to get zeroed out one by one by one. The message that we have to send to the rest of the country on February 3rd is this: we all have intrinsic value as Americans and as human beings. That we know that we have this value independent of what the market is saying. Is this a message you all want to send? This is a message that Martin Luther King was championing decades ago, and we have sanitized his memory. We celebrate his birthday every year, and what does it say on our TV screen? MLK's birthday, what does it say? I have a dream. And then what is the suggestion of seeing that I have a dream speech? Like, what do you think? It's like, he had a dream, and then I woke up. And then good things happened, and then the dream is sort of, kind of on its way, but not really, and then you even go to life. You know what it doesn't say on MLK's birthday? There should be a guaranteed minimum income for every American. That's actually what he was fighting for. In his 1967 book, he said, look, we need to humanize the economy. We need to make it a right of citizenship that we all have at stake in our great country of unprecedented wealth. Now that does not show up on the screen every year on his birthday. And when I spoke to his son, I said, I believe we have sanitized your dad. Like where he was an activist trying to make things different and better, and then we've now presented it as if he was a dreamer. And he was not a dreamer, Iowa. He was a fighter. He was someone who was actually fighting to make people's lives better. That's what we need to actually do on his birthday, is fight to make people's lives better. And that's why I'm here with you all tonight. I'm not running for president because I dreamt about being president of the United States. I'm running for president because I'm a parent and a patriot who has seen the future that lies ahead for our kids, for you all, the young people of this country. I have seen your future, and it is not something I'm willing to accept. You deserve better. I'm ashamed of what we are leaving you. I will fight for something better, but I need you to fight with me. Donald Trump is our president today because he had a very simple message, Iowa. This is the message that won your state. He said he was going to make America great again. And what did Hillary Clinton say in response? America's already great. Remember that? It's been a long 3 years. I know. But it's coming to an end. Now that response did not work for many, many Americans, because the fact is the problems do exist. We have to acknowledge their depth and severity and reality, but then we need real solutions that will actually move our communities forward. What were Donald Trump's solutions? Build a wall, turn the clock back, bring the old jobs back. Grinnell, you know we have to do the opposite of these things. We have to turn the clock forward. We have to accelerate our economy and society to rise to the real challenges of the 21st century. We have to evolve in the way we see ourselves and our work and our values. Bless you.
Thank you.
I am the ideal candidate for that job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Thank you all very much. Math is an acronym, and what does it stand for?
Make America think.
Make America think harder. That's right. That is your job in 15 days. It's your job to move this entire great country of ours that we love so much. Not left, Not right, but forward. And I know that is where you're going to take us. How many of y'all are college students? Let's have that sense. Look at that. I congratulate you on that. I like, have they made it a pain in the butt for you to caucus? I can't. Like, what they do? Like, can you caucus or you all right? So you're all right? Oh my gosh, you're also these super powered 1,000 of California voters? Yes. Makes me very happy.
But you count for a lot more here. Yes, I know.
Oh yeah. This is the place where democracy will work. Do we have a mic runner? Take some questions. Ethan, do your selection process. I don't even know what your process is.
Hi. Welcome to Grinnell. And I just want to say on this day of service, thank you so much for being willing to serve this country to move us forward. God, as a direct result of all of that. I wonder if you can talk a little bit specifically about what you're offering, what you're suggesting, what you're advocating for to help our young people to avoid deep, deep debt in order to become educated, active citizens.
Thank you for being an educator yourself. What do you teach in schools?
What do I teach? God love me, I teach journalism.
It is wrong what we've done to our young people in terms of the cost of college. Which one we've done to families. If you're a parent, like me and Evelyn, you look up and you're like, college costs what? And then it's like you have 2 kids and you're like, what? I'm supposed to have how much? Paid up by when? It's maddening. So here are the things we can do that I believe would help. And you have to attack the problem at every stage. So why has college gotten 2.5 times more expensive over the last number of years? Is it because they gave you massive raises as a professor?
No, I can tell you that.
No. Actually, faculty positions have essentially been frozen in place. You have a lot of these adjuncts who are in this sort of strange, frankly, subsistence labor model where they're like, hey, you're never going to get tenure, teach students, we're going to pay you less than survival rate, and that's the tiresome.
Wow.
So it's not that we pay the teachers more. So why has the cost of college gone up? It's because the administrator to student ratio has gone up 150% during this period. That these colleges have become very, very complex organizations where there are many, many non-faculty administrators doing all sorts of things that did not even exist 15, 20 years ago. Now, in many ways, I don't blame universities because I've run a nonprofit. And when you run a nonprofit, you are a nonprofit administrator. You know what your natural impulse is? Hire nonprofit administrators. Because that's what you are. And so you're like, hey, I got a big job. I'm going to hire this person. And then, you know what that person does a little while later? Hires another person. And then you kind of proliferate. That's like just the way organizations work. So how do you start turning this around for families? Number one, you say to us all, look, $1,000 a month for everyone. So if you're in college, that'll at least take the burden off a little bit. Number two, you go to colleges and say, can you please try and get your prices under control? Like, it's not appropriate for you just to keep raising the rates every year and then passing that along to families. And then what do the families do? They turn to the government and say, hey, can I take out loans to pay for my kids' college? That's how you wind up with $1.6 trillion in student loan debt and counting. That was less than $100 billion in 1999. It went up more than 16-fold in 20 years. Like, what kind of math is that? Like, this is really like replicated the mortgage bubble again in the form of student loan debt. For people who've already racked up this $1.6 trillion, I would forgive a significant proportion of it. I think this is the right thing to do. Do you all remember voting for the $4 trillion bailout of Wall Street after the financial crisis? I joke, I mean laugh. Okay, I'm going to present you this choice. You have a choice. Bail out Wall Street for $4 trillion or keep Americans in their homes. Which do you choose? Yeah, you choose B. What did we choose in real life? A. I was so disgusted by that decision that I quit my job, started a nonprofit, and ran it for 7 years just to try and wash the stink off of me, and I had nothing to do with it. I was just in the same vicinity and was like, this is so dirty that I'm going to try and cleanse myself by just trying to do good stuff for 7 years. So we are in a similar boat now where we have this $1.6 trillion in financial debt that's keeping our young people, mainly, I mean, they're older Americans too are in the same boat, so it's not all young people. But it's keeping our young people from doing what? Buying homes, starting families, starting businesses. It's keeping them trapped in their parents' basement. So we have a choice again between the banks and our people, and this time I say we choose our people. We cannot pretend that college is the right path for everyone. We have to dramatically invest in technical, vocational, and apprenticeship education at the high school level. Right now, only 6% of American high school students are in technical programs. In Germany, that's 59%. Think about that gulf. And there are many of those jobs that are right now going unfilled because we haven't trained people properly. We know what's going on in America. It's cheaper for us to throw our kids in a classroom with some textbooks and a teacher and say, we're going to pretend you should go to college. That's easier than actually setting up a trade program or a shop with trainers and tools and machines and an employer at the end of it. That other thing is harder. And in America, we almost never do the hard thing anymore. We do the easy thing if it's leaving our kids in a tough spot. I can't wait to, as your president, team up with Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs and then run around talking about how these are great jobs. Like, you gotta do this freaking program, work with your hands, like do real stuff. We need to destigmatize the trades. And then we have to stop overemphasizing college to the exclusion of all else.
Hi, Andrew. My name is Sterling. I'm Native American. And I have some questions. Are you going to have any policies regarding Native Americans? And I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of misinformation about them as well. And are you going to do anything to try to include them in school curriculum? Not only about that, also there's a movement called Murdered Missing Indigenous Women. There's thousands of them missing all over, and not much is being done. As president, what would you do?
Thank you for the question. I've seen the numbers on the missing Indigenous women, and it's reprehensible. And it's clear that our law enforcement authorities are not actually investigating these crimes in any kind of adequate way. After Evelyn's story came out last week, I was asked earlier about the fact that we have tens of thousands of untested rape kits in our country right now. And if I was a woman who actually reported a crime and produced a rape kit, I would be furious that those are not being tested. So I'm just saying this to let you know that, unfortunately, the fact that we're not properly pursuing the crimes against Indigenous and Native American women, we're really bad at looking after women in every segment of the society, and it's something I will pledge to you that we're going to change when I'm president. Big picture, I've seen the data around Native American communities, and we need to do much, much more. The success rates and substance abuse rates are not what you need them to be. And so we have to do more to invest in these communities. And I was very encouraged. I went and looked at the studies of people getting money, because as you all know, my plan is to give everyone money. And so I went looking at examples where people got money in various situations. And one of the most important examples I found in the United States was a Native American community in North Carolina, where what happened was they had a casino and they started giving their families money. And sociologists were studying those families and then other families that were not getting money. So you all want to guess what happens over time? So the families that were getting money ended up, the kids were healthier, better educated, better adjusted, higher success rates in all these dimensions than the families that weren't getting money. And this was like a gold standard of studies because they literally were just studying the kids longitudinally, and then you had like a perfect XY control group where they're the same kids and some were getting money and some weren't. So it was very encouraging because what happened with that Native American community to me suggests what we need to do for more Native American communities, but also for more Americans around the country. because the data clearly showed that with this money in their hands, families became healthier, less stressed out, domestic violence went down, kids' graduation rates went up, hospital visits went down. Essentially, life got better. And we need to do that for Native American communities around the country, as well as, again, so the issues that you're describing in the Native American community are much more extreme in your community. They do exist in other parts of American life. We need to make them both better. Oh, hey.
My question to you is, every president, every person running for re-election, every 4 years, honestly, the same things over and over and over, but nothing ever gets done. The schools never get refurbished. The high school here in Grinnell is absolutely atrocious. It needs to be redone. It needs to have new things brought into it. We only have a shop. We have no automotive. We have nothing to even get our kids ready. Our kids are supposed to have 52 credits to graduate, and 46 of those are required. The rest of them are all elective. What electives do we have in this town? Almost none. What are you going to do when you become president and you promise all of these things? Are you going to make them happen?
I love this question so much because I think this is fundamental. It's like I always choose the president every 4 years. And then the question is, what happens after you become president? Now, everyone knows exactly what I'm running on. I want to play through this with you because I think it's so important and so exciting. What's the #1 criteria that Democrats have for the nominee? Beat Donald Trump. That's right. Now, surveys have shown that I have the best odds of beating Donald Trump as a nominee. One survey said that 10% of Trump voters in a swing state would choose me over the president in the general election. Another survey, and the college kids might be able to verify this, 18% of college Republicans would choose me over Trump in the general. Donald Trump has tweeted about every candidate in the field except for me. And why is that? He knows I can beat him. He knows I'm better at the internet than he is. And one of his advisors was even quoted in one of those private meetings being like, the one we're worried about is Yang. Now they figured it out. The Democrats are waking up to it. And that's one reason why I'm getting stronger all the time. So let's play this out. I shock the world, you shock the world, and I win Iowa February 3rd. Can you imagine those headlines? So much fun. Yeah! Then we go to New Hampshire. New Hampshire is an open primary. The third party of New Hampshire is libertarians. You know what libertarians love? The freedom dividend. It's named after them. And if it's an open primary, you can just show up and vote in the Democratic selection process. If you're a Republican in New Hampshire, what's more interesting to you? Help Donald Trump stop William Weld, or go and play in the Democratic primary? You know, a lot of them are going to come play in the Democratic primary. If we win Iowa, we will win New Hampshire. If we win Iowa and New Hampshire, then I get swept to the White House. I get a head-to-head with Donald Trump and destroy him, because what are his most powerful attacks? You're a corrupt politician. You're a creature of DC. One reason he hasn't said anything about this is because none of it works on me. Like, I'm like his worst nightmare. So I get up there and I say, look, Donald, you're a symptom. I'm here to cure the disease. Let's just get on with the business of the American people. I will even not throw you in jail. So then I'm your president a year from now today. And this is back to your question, is like, how do I deliver for you? After I'm president, everyone will know I won on the freedom dividend. Everyone will know. And the Democrats and progressives will say, hey, I like the dividend. It puts resources into families' hands. It makes us healthier, stronger, mentally healthier, etc. But then here's the magic. What do the Republicans think about the dividend? They look up and say, wait a minute, the only state that's had a dividend for almost 40 years is Alaska, and that's a deep red conservative state, and it was passed by a Republican governor. Republicans do not hate the dividend. You know what they hate? Giant bureaucracies making everyone's decisions. They do not mind money in people's hands, particularly because it's going to help rural areas and red states on the interior that have been blasted economically. Can you imagine a congressperson in, let's call it Kentucky, let's call him Mitch McConnell, who stands there and is like, hey, the money's going to hurt you. Can you imagine his parking lot or his phone lines after I get there and say, Mitch is standing between you and your family and the dividend that everyone in America essentially voted for just a couple of weeks ago. We get the dividend passed, we get money into your hands, you can hold me accountable for whether I deliver the dividend, because that's what this entire campaign's about. Our government is not great at a lot of things. Let's just face facts. It's really not. One thing it is exceptional at is sending large numbers of checks to large numbers of people promptly and reliably. This is just about one of our only core competencies as a government. Now think about it. What are the great victories in our government over the last 100 years? Social Security, Medicare, Obamacare, sure, a lot of it's sending resources out. That's what we need to lean into. But I agree with you that right now, Iowans need to have this as the test. If it's not working for you, it's not working. And you need to elect someone who's going to change it. And if we do not change it, then we do not deserve to be our president, and you should vote us the heck out 4 years later.
Can you redo the schools, and can you put a term limit on senators and the House of how many years they're in there? Some of them have been in there 20, 40 years.
Yeah. So we talked about term limits. One thing I want to invest in the worst way is infrastructure. I can't believe Donald Trump did not give us bridges and highways just to put his name on them. You know what I mean? I just thought he'd be like, ooh, it's Trump bridge time. Every state's gonna have a Trump bridge. He didn't do it, so it's left more for us to do. But we are way behind on our infrastructure. It's become a national embarrassment. It's even dangerous now. When engineers graded our infrastructure, they gave us a D. We're coasting on the investment of decades before us, and we have to do better. We have to actually invest in our future. So infrastructure is an emblem for what's going on. There are many, many things in American life where we are decades behind the curve. We can sense that, can't we? Yeah, I'm the man to speed it up. And one of the things that I want to do is speed up investment in infrastructure so that your school actually reflects a 2020 economy and not when it was built, which was probably in the 1950s or 60s.
Hi, I have a question. I am a preschool teacher, but I prefer to call them early childhood educator. And my question is, we're lucky enough in Iowa to have universal preschool for children who are 4 by September 15th. However, many families can't take advantage of that because they do not have child care available, or they can't get away from their work to take their child to universal preschool. So I want to know, first of all, how you feel about universal preschool across the country. Second of all, universal child care.
Well, first I want to thank you for the work you do on behalf of our kids. You guys are Evelyn and I literally have like a kid in pre-K right now, so it's very, very great. So I want to take it a step back even further. We're one of only 2 countries in the world that does not have paid family leave for new moms. That list is the United States of America and Papua New Guinea. And I want to tell you something even more embarrassing. I memorized this list a year ago, and on that list a year ago were 3 other countries, Liberia, Lesotho, and Swaziland. And you know what happened in the last year? Liberia, Lesotho, and Swaziland all passed paid leave for new moms, and we didn't. So it starts even earlier than by the time they get to 3 or 4. It's common sense that, of course, moms need some time with the kid, and dads, when the kid's born. Think about how pathologically anti-family you must be to not have paid family leave and just be this only country in the world. And here's the dumbest thing about it. The argument seems to be that it's bad for business for moms to take time off from work to spend time with their kids. You know what's really bad for business? Moms leaving the workforce because they can't work there because you're not giving them any time off. So it'd be much better for business to actually give moms this time off. So you have 6 months off the bat, and then I'm for universal pre-K and universal childcare for kids from that point on. Because all of the data shows that the more time you spend with that kid in those crucially early years, the more set up for success they are. And then by the time they reach you when they're 4 or 5, if they haven't had a certain number of words read to them when they're very young, they're actually going to be behind from the get-go. This is something that's very near and dear for me and Evelyn. We need to invest in our kids from day one. I don't actually know step further, like J minus like X months, because you shouldn't have moms who are frankly like doing things that they might not know are not great, but you actually need prenatal resources, nutrition, stress levels, substance abuse. We have to try and do everything we can so that our kids have a real shot at success. Love what you do. I'm for universal daycare and universal pre-K. And I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in our schools to a greater extent. I think we should pay teachers more. And this is not a feel-good thing. The data clearly shows a good teacher is worth your weight in gold in better educational outcomes for kids. So we need to try and compensate people accordingly. Number 2, we need to have more teachers in communities, particularly when there are kids who have special needs. Because right now, the United States government pays for 15% of special needs resources in our communities, which is not anywhere near enough. And so you know that many communities don't have the resource in place. I'm saying the federal government should pay for 100% of it and just take it off the community's backs, get more teachers in the classrooms. Number 3, we should lighten up on standardized tests at every level. We popularized the SAT during World War II as a means to identify which kids not to send to the front lines. And now we treat our kids like every year is wartime. How dark is that? And we know it distorts teacher behavior because they're changing what they're doing because they know there's this test that the kid's accountable for. We need to not treat our kids like they're all on the assembly lines. They don't mature at all the same rates. There are people who have real atypical learning profiles and the rest of it. If you got rid of the SATs, not rid of, but de-emphasize it and the other standardized tests, it would give teachers a better chance to do your job. The other big piece of it, and this goes back to what we need to do for kids when they're at that crucial formative stage, 2/3 of our kids' educational outcomes are determined by out-of-school factors. So what are those? Nutrition, stress levels in the house, income level, neighborhood, parental time spent with them. We hold teachers to an impossible standard right now. We say, hey, educate our kids. And then even the best educators are like, hey, I can control approximately 1/3 of what happens with this kid. And the other 2/3 happen as soon as they're out of the school. So what we have to do is we have to put resources directly into parents and families' hands, give the kid a better chance to be in an environment that will give them a chance to learn, and then give the teachers a better chance to teach. And you all make it possible. I love this place so much. I've been campaigning for the better part of 2 years, and we are maxing out right now. It is glorious. Plus now Evelyn is here. My boys are on the way. We've got a bus. There is no stopping this campaign. Thank you, Grinnell. Let's make history together on February 3rd. Let's go ahead. We got people here. We gotta be better.
All right, Andrew's got to do some cuts downstairs for a little bit. Anybody that wants a picture should line up right here, one line back to the back of the building, and hang out for just a few minutes.
Excuse me, guys, sorry. Sorry.
I'm going downstairs.
This was bad planning.
I'm behind you, come on.
You said don't do that. attempting
Or you can send it to Kamal via Okay.
Line back this way.
We need an idea of what you want in it. Okay, yeah, that's right. We think it's better.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the local press that's doing the pressing, so just hang out up here.
All right, stream. This is what we need right now. We need you to donate to Andrew Yang. And whoever has the highest donation during the stream is going to get a shout out from the next president of the United States. You have till this selfie line ends. The current donation leader is Albert at $250, but let's thank all of our other donors. Thank you, Ernesto, for the $1 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Onija, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, David, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Samantha, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Eduardo, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Shai Sheng, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Miguel, for the $3 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Sam, for the $1.68 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Han, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Marie, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Franklin, for the $1 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Jason, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Amber, for the $15 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you. And that's it. Then we go to Albert, who had the $250 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. So the reason that we need you guys to donate through the yanggame.com is because the campaign is allowing us to film every single event during their 17 bus tour. And Ted, who runs Yangstream, personally told Zach Grauman that we can raise $100,000 for the campaign during the stream, during these streams. And it only happens with you guys. There are currently 951 of you watching the chat. So what we need all of you to do right now is to go to this website right here, theyanggame.com. We have currently raised $93,872 from 2,434 donors. However, our $100,000 goal started when we were already at $77,000, which means we need to raise about another $84,000 for the campaign, and we only have this event and then the next 14 days to get it done. Your donations are going to help Andrew Yang become the next president of the United States. And whoever has the highest donation during this stream is going to get a shout out on camera from Andrew Yang. Think of how jealous when Andrew's president that your friends will be when you have a on shout out camera before he even shocked the world during the Iowa caucuses. Anyways, let's interview some folks. Hopefully you guys donate while I interview the people. Excuse me, ma'am. Question for you. Would you be interested in answering a few questions about what you thought of the event and Andrew's speech?
I just gave a little blurb, but sure. If there's specific questions, I'll answer them.
All right. All right. How did you find out about Andrew Yang?
The news?
The news? Okay. And what made you decide to come out to this event here tonight in Grinnell?
I had a free evening, and my kid was coming as well, so myself and my high school senior came.
Awesome. Where did you rank Andrew coming into the event? Was he on your radar, someone that you were considering caucusing for?
Maybe third on my radar.
Maybe third?
He
And what about after listening to him speak? How do you feel about him now?
I might say it's still I still have to decide between three.
Still deciding. Yeah, there's a lot running. So, of all of Andrew's policies, which of his do you like the most?
Universal income. I like that. Investing in schools and infrastructure.
Besides Andrew, which other candidates are you considering? Pete and Amy. What is it about Pete and Amy that you like?
They're moderate, they're young, they're a little bit more dynamic, I guess. They haven't been around for so long.
So you'd say it's important to have a candidate who hasn't been like roaming around Washington for like 30 years.
For somebody younger than
someone younger.
70s,
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Is there anything you would like to say to the world? No. All right.
Get out and vote.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And what is your name?
I'm Helen.
Helen. My name's Matt. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
No problem. Who do we interview next? Let's see if we had any donations come in. Thank you, Gene, for the $1 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Martine, for the $100 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Jing, for the $10 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Audrey, for the $5 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Jacob, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Your guys' donations are going to power Andrew to go all the way. Let's see here. Let's see here.
I trying to find a good spot.
No, I'm just browsing.
Oh, nice.
Yes, down the block. This is Main Street. And then 4th Avenue is what we bisect. I'm on 4th Avenue. It says Andrew Yang in the window. I don't know. How did you miss us? We're everywhere. No, but that's because, so 4th Avenue.
Why don't you write your
Zach, do you mind if I ask you a question on camera?
What's the question? You're fine. I'll just ignore y'all if I don't want to answer it.
Yeah, just no comment.
What's up?
What is, besides phone banking, text banking, and canvassing, what is the best way to help Andrew Yang win right now?
Donate.
Donate! That's right!
Yeah, guys, we need, we're going for the gusto, right? We're going for broke, so this money we've all raised is awesome, but we're not sitting on it, right? So we need money. We need money to run ads. We need money to pay for more mailers, flyers, events, spaces, all of it.
Yep.
And it's clearly working. I mean, you guys can see the crowd, so we feel good. So here's, I mean, if you look at our schedule, it's kind of, there's such a thing as a light day, but basically starting Wednesday, we're like back to back.
I saw 5 town halls.
I like that. I may kill him. He may die on the trail. Just pass out dead. He'll be fine. He'll make it. But yeah, we need your help, y'all. It's gonna be great. Final stretch. Right here. It's been 2 years. Finally at the finish line. It's actually crazy if you really think about it. It's really more of a starting line. And anyways, the election.
It's the beginning of the peak.
Find out, man. And it's been wonderful so far, but we're greedy,
We gotta go above and beyond.
I mean, if all these people show up to caucus in Grinnell, we're gonna have a very good day, very good caucus day. And if more people than showed up here, it's gonna be a really good caucus day. So we'll see.
Absolutely.
How you doing?
Good.
Right?
Good. Yeah. All right.
We get you a car. What are you doing?
Oh, is that allowed to be talked about on here?
You have transportation.
Yeah.
You gotta make sure this guy.
You guys hooked me up. Appreciate it. All right. Well, since Zach said about it on camera, the reason that we need to raise so much money through
I have to drag this guy around.
our referral link is because the campaign has agreed to pay for my travel costs, the rental car, to go from event to event, to stream everything for you guys. So, to show our appreciation.
If you don't raise any money, we're not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So, if we don't raise $100,000 in 17 days, they're just going to stick me with the bill.
I'm absolutely sticking with it.
Absolutely.
I haven't agreed for
Exactly.
anything.
So, if you guys want us to keep streaming all the events, we have to raise $100,000 in 17 days, and so far we have raised $16,000 in 3 days. It's weak, exactly. Weak, right from the campaign manager himself. We need to step up our game. So donate right now through theyangame.com. Appreciate it. Oops, my bad.
So this is a commitment office card. It's basically saying you are going to vote for Andrew. It's basically pledging this one. So basically,
With the campaign. Want to go one at a time?
Okay, thank you, Gene, for the $1 donation. Andrew Yang through the yangame.com donation link. Wait, I think I already thanked these people. Thank you, Jacob, for the $5 donation. Andrew Yang through the yangame.com donation link. Thank you, Paul, for the $10 donation. Andrew Yang through the yangame.com donation link. Thank you, Sean, for the $5 donation. Andrew Yang through the yangame.com donation link. Thank you, Lamar, for the $10 donation through the yangame.com donation link. Thank you, Wilfred, for the $10 donation. Andrew Yang through the yangame.com donation link. Thank you, Zhao Shuang. I probably didn't say that right. I apologize. For the $25 donation, Andrew Yang through the yangame.com donation link. Thank you, Brian, for the $5 donation. Andrew Yang through the yangame.com donation link. Remember, the website is THEYANGGAME.com. Whoever donates the most gets... Oh, would either of you be interested in a bumper sticker? Yeah. Awesome. The current donation leader is Albert at $250, and if you donate more than Albert, you will become white or blue. One of each? Awesome. Have a good night. If you would like to get a shout out from Andrew Yang, all you got to do is donate $250 or more. Thank you, George, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. ViewTube just said he donated in the chat. Thank you, ViewTube. Who's gonna beat Albert? Let's have a bidding war. There's a reason it's called the Yang Game. Thank you, Antonio, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Alan, for the $1.69 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Jamin, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. This selfie line is still about 50 people deep, which means we have a lot of time left to have an crazy bidding war for the shout out. However, if the donations get high enough, everyone who reaches a certain threshold, let's call it $500, anyone who either is the donation leader or raises more than $500 or donates more than $500 during this stream will get a shout out from Andrew Yang on camera at the end of the event. Thank you, Andrew, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. White or blue? Thank you. Yeah. Forgot that was plugged in.
It happens to me all the time. Headphones on, walk away from the computer.
Sorry, headphone users. Sorry, headphone users. Thank you, James, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. This was the last event of the night. I believe the first town hall tomorrow is at 12:30 Central Standard Time. White or blue? White. Oops. There you go. Have a good night. Everybody signed it. Do you want to answer a few questions on camera real quick about what you thought of the event? What you thought of it? I'm trying to, so I feel you. You interested?
I watch your channel.
You watch the channel? Do you want to be on the channel? Okay.
Yeah.
What's your name? Lindsay. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming out to the event.
She wants to be on camera.
Want to do an interview on your thoughts of the event? Thoughts on it? Also, white or blue? White or blue? White.
I have a blue one. Oh, wait, no, I have a white one. I wanted a white one. I like the white one better. Oh my god. I sound like a family.
All right. What is your name?
My name is Daria.
Daria. Matt, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Matt.
Yep. How did you first learn about Andrew Yang?
How did I first learn? Well, I think, I was following most of the political candidates from the get-go and was watching the debates. And at first I didn't really dismiss Andrew, and then at some point I was like, wow, that guy is onto something. And I started researching more and watching some of the YouTube videos, podcasts, listening to him, and then it just clicked for me that really move us forward in a significant and meaningful way.
Awesome. Is this the first time you've ever heard him speak in person?
This is my third time.
Third time.
Yeah. But the first two were like yesterday and the day before.
Okay. Still new to the whole thing. How is it listening to Andrew speak in person versus watching an interview online?
It's like, it's like all
I'm going to move this really close to you because they say they can't hear you, so.
Okay. All the inspiration that you get online times like a million. Yeah, it's really powerful, and it's really, I just feel like so lit up and so excited to get him to the White House.
Yep, absolutely. Do you have a Twitter or anything you want to shout out to the world? Tell everyone to follow you?
I don't remember my Twitter handle, so.
Oh no.
All right. Yeah, I guess just, follow the Yang Gang.
Follow the Yang Gang and donate. Donate to the campaign.
It's so important. Please donate.
Can you give me like a 10-minute monologue on why donating is super important? Just kidding, that's a joke.
Sure, I can do it.
Just a short one.
Anything for you. Short one. Well, basically, it takes so much money to run for president. Like, the things they get charged for, it's insane. And, the events of the campaign cost a lot of money. So if we want as many people as possible to hear Andrew and to get us lit and excited as we are, we really need to make it happen and keep donating, keep supporting. So please, Yang Gang, keep donating more money to Andrew. So, it's a final stretch. We can get him in, and we can do this. We're doing it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nice meeting you both. Thank you, Sheng Li, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, David, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Shu Hong, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link.
My son.
get this video from? I'm so confused. Interviews a couple? What couple? Oh, wait, I actually do need an interviewer. She just said she's a Republican. They didn't want to be interviewed. Thank you, Pablo, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Remember, the donation leader is currently Albert at $250. Is anyone going to outdo Albert? White or blue? White. White. All right. Now the question will just be blue or blue. You guys take forever. Thanks for coming out. Have a good night. Yeah, where's Fong? I think we bankrupted Fong last night. We're such evil people. Thank you, Tim. I've seen your name before for the $15 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Very much appreciated. Is someone going to steal Albert's night? The earlier you donate, the better the bidding war goes. I know you're trying to get the last minute donation. Would you like the bumper sticker? Awesome. Usually I say white or blue, but we're out of white ones, so yeah, blue's good.
Yeah, you did. That's right. Yeah.
White or blue, sir?
I'm good.
You're good. I'm good. You're already hooked up.
It's all, I got like probably 10 of those in my car.
Oh, man.
In case I'm like, knocking on the door, come across a random Yank supporter, throw in the car, put in your lawn, wear a hat, everything.
Heck yeah, all in.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Alan.
Alan, Matt. Nice to meet you.
We called each other on the phone.
Oh, are you Alan Wilkins?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, you want to be on video real quick?
Sure, yeah.
Guys,
What's up,
this is Alan Wilkins. He's like the super canvasser here in Iowa. This is like ground zero for canvassing in Iowa.
That's right. You get it done here in Iowa, and that's what it's all about. It's about canvassing. And if you can't canvass here in Iowa, and canvass in any of the early states, definitely phone bank. Like canvassing phone bank. Get those conversations going and let them know. I just had actually a conversation in parties with an older couple from Iowa City, like 15 minutes before it was 6:30.
White or blue?
I was basically telling them about Andrew Yang.
Have a great
and at first
night.
I didn't want to talk about politics. And then I started talking more about like how I just showed them that excitement. And they just kept asking more questions like, oh, well, won't it cause inflation? Won't people just waste it on drugs and everything else? And then I started explaining like, no, there's trials that say that people use it on useful things. People use it to grow the economy. And then they were really impressed. So, hey, keep having those conversations. Keep door knocking wherever you can get to an early state. Keep just phone banking. And we're gonna definitely blow people away in Iowa. That is a guarantee, as long as we just keep on keeping on, because it's our enthusiasm, it's our passion. That is what put us here today. So just keep up that passion, keep going on, and we gotta make sure we sprint through the finish. Sprint through the finish, and we will blow everybody's expectations out of the sky into outer space on a BFG rocket from Elon Musk Tesla. And it'll be crazy. So everybody that's doing work, keep doing that good work and keep on keeping on, okay? Peace.
Guys, this is the man for real. This guy, there was like one day where they were calling for like canvassers and phone bankers. We were like the only one
Yeah.
put out, which is a good thing for you, but a bad thing for the Yang Gang. But this guy is the man. We need everyone to be more like Alan. appreciate it so much.
That's
truly.
right. At least door knocking. I don't know about other parts so much, but that's all right. That's all right. But definitely keep knocking on those doors, people. Anyway, I gotta go going back home. I got a 3.5 hour drive. So
Oh man.
Yeah, that's all right though. We're good. I got some cherry coke in the car. It'll keep me awake. So.
Heck, dude, that's my thing. Dude, nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Let's take care of Yang Gang. Peace.
Drive safe. Take care.
Absolutely.
Can we get some donations for Alan? Okay. Can one of the mods time out that inappropriate comment? Wait a second. Breaking news. We have a new donation leader. How is the new... We have breaking news. How is the new donation leader at $500? How is trying to go for the donation lead 2 nights in a row? How already got the shout out last night, but how is being what's the word? I can't think of the word. How is just wants it all for himself with the $500 donation? And thank you, Tamara, for the $1 donation. Andrew Yang, Gil, $5 donation. Would you like a bumper sticker, sir? Sure. Awesome. Have a good night. Gil with the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com. Belinda with the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com. Dylan with the $15 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com. How? Making it rain with the $500 donation. Thank you, Matthew, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Is anyone going to stop How? How is trying to take the whole cake for himself. He was the donation shout-out leader last night, and he's taking it all for himself again tonight. Who is going to step up and take it back from How? Excuse me, sir. Would you like the yard sign?
I wish I was a resident of Iowa. Colorado here. I'm just here to visit my family.
I was starting to wake up to the fact that Andrew Yang is both of you listen? I do not. You do? You do? No, I do not.
Where do you live?
Maryland.
Maryland. I'm from Jersey.
Small
world. What are you out here?
Why am I out here?
Yeah, just to go see him or?
I'm following his entire 17-day bus tour. I've actually been here since February 4th.
To be fair, so have I. Well, thank you so much for doing this and thank you for live streaming it. I appreciate it. Brendan, thank you. No problem. I'm in the office down there. So if you come back to Grinnell, I'm in the office.
Who will top How? Is someone gonna top How? We are looking for a $500 donation to top How, or someone else can add to one of their previous donations. Excuse me, sir. Guys, you know what I do when I sit here behind the camera? I just pass out merch. I just gave someone a yard sign. The selfie line's coming into an end, so it looks like How is going to... Oh, thank you, Francisco, for the $10 donation. Andrew Yang, through the yanggame.com donation link. Let me go to our internal Act Blue page. Thank you, Andy, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. I'm now on the internal act blue page since the selfie line is coming to a close. Thank you, Cole, for the $1 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. It looks like it's going to be How again tonight.
Who am I thinking?
Same guy as last night. He donated $1,000 yesterday, and then he came in today with another $500. How?
How, thank you. You're awesome. Another $500. You're right here in Grinnell with us this time, fighting it out for the future of our civilization, maybe even our entire species. It's true, because after I win, we can advance not just the U.S., but Western civilization and then the rest of the world. You're making it happen, Hal. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Have a good night, man. Hal does it again. How 2028. Mom, I'm not going to bring a yard sign home. I can get a yard sign if you need one. I have one at my house, at my apartment. All right, guys. It looks like this event's coming to an end. Let's see if we have any more donations to thank you for. Nope. The last one was Cole at $1. So all 767 of you have seen the proof. I don't even have to ask Andrew to come up anymore. He already knows what's going on. He just comes up to the camera to give one of you a special shout out for donating. Everybody who donated during this stream tonight, we appreciate you so much. We have 4 town halls tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we have 5 town halls. And every single one of them is going to be live right here on the Zach and Matt Show YouTube, as well as yangstream.com. And hopefully we can also get it set up to where it broadcasts on Twitter and Facebook. So that's going to be the end of the stream. I'm going to switch right on over to twitch.tv/The Zach and Matt Show. And if you would like to follow the drive, the rest of our event, I think we have to drive like 2 hours tonight to get to the first event tomorrow. And we're also going to listen in to the call, the special phone call for all the Yang Gang tonight. But if you would like to do all that, tune in to twitch.tv/The Zach and Matt Show. Twitch.tv/The Zach and Matt Show. And thank you. Originally I was going to keep it private, but since Zach Rahman pretty much said it on camera, the campaign is paying for my rental car to go to all these events, which is why I'm going to do everything I can in the next 14 days to raise as much money for the campaign as possible. So if you would like to follow the rest of this, it's twitch.tv/The Zach and Matt Show. We're going to be switching over right now. See you guys.